Hello, good morning. Welcome to Talking Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Great to be with you this morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, last week on this program, we talked about the changing nature of work in this era of the COVID-19 pandemic and what work will be like post-COVID-19. But we also have to admit that building very strong teams, very important for productivity and efficiency at our workplaces, especially during this time when businesses are taking a hit. So this morning we're going to be talking about team dynamics and the impact on productivity at the workplace. Joining me via Zoom is Nixon Amwa-Ewa, who is Managing Director of Calvin Clay People Development, to discuss this. I'm happy to have you on the program this morning, Nixon. Hope you had a great weekend yourself.
Thank you, Daryl. I really did, and thank you. I hope you also had a good one.
Oh, yeah, I managed, in fact. All right, and so for people who do not know what your organization is, Calvin Clay People Development, just in a minute or two, if you could just tell us what you do.
All right, thank you. So Calvin Clay is an HR consultancy firm, and we are into executive search, coaching and mentoring. We also do leadership development, and then we offer HR advisory service as well. So we do the full breadth of HR, but these are our main focus.
Okay, great. And so I'm sure I have the right man for this topic this morning. So let's get straight to it. Team dynamics. Tell us about the concept of team dynamics, why it is important to enhance productivity at the workplace.
All right, so team, the concept of work actually evolves around team. If you take the work environment, you have got different skills, people with different skills, people with different competencies being brought together to deliver a piece of work or to deliver a single vision or mission or goals for the business. So it is very important that the people who are working within the organizational ecosystem are brought together as one to deliver that vision. And typically, people come into the organization with their own personality, with their own experiences, with their own background, and they all play out at the work setting, which as an organization, you have to play on all these, the strength of all these, limit the weaknesses of all these to be able to harness the synergies that can come out of this to enhance your productivity. Okay. So basically, when you're talking about team dynamics, you are looking at all the things that come to play within the team that makes the team a team.
And so the goal primarily at the end of the day to achieve a certain performance, to meet a target set by the organization, maybe? Is yes, it just so what it is about?
Correct, Daryl. So when you look at it for every single organization, they have got their own vision, they've got their own mission, they've got their own goals. And the object of people being in the organization is to achieve the goals of that organization and then eventually the vision and the mission. So once you are set up, the goal is to get the team to deliver to achieve those. Okay. So it is always about achieving the goals.
And so what would you describe as a strong team?
So a strong team, I will use an analogy. If you look at in football circles, you could have a good selection of individuals within forming a team, but could play nothing and could achieve nothing. However, you could have a team of people whom you wouldn't consider to be world-class, but they will be achieving a lot. Why is that the case? It's because in the second scenario, there have been a lot of cohesion and people know what they are supposed to do, when they are supposed to do them, and they play their part to ensure that the synergies that can be created within the team are created, and then what needs to be achieved is done. So what makes a good team is where people know their accountabilities, they know where we are all going. So the goals of the company, the vision of the company, everybody is aware of it, and they know how their work contributes to achieving those goals and those visions. When people know that and they have got the commitment, i.e. they are motivated to work, they have the ability to work, and they contribute their part, then you have a team. And in that case, you have a stronger team to deliver what you want to deliver.
Okay, so I have a group of people I want to work with. Where does the team building effort start from? Where do you begin from?
So there are stages in team formation. And if you look at Tuckman did the model of team formation where it starts from when the team is formed. So from forming to storming to norming to performing. So what happens is that at the initial stage that you form a team, because people will be coming with their own experiences, their own backgrounds, they wouldn't be at their optimum. But it will be up to you as the leader of the company or the group to ensure that you are clear on what you are about, what you want to achieve. You are clear on what each person is accountable for and responsible for. And you are clear on your measurement of performance within the team. And then you start putting measures in place, team bonding activities in place to ensure that people know what they are doing and they begin to understand each other. And through that phase, because things are not too clear, you have people knocking their heads, people struggling for power within the team, who is going to be the best, the second in command, who is going to sit on the left, who is going to sit on the right. And that is when we call the storming phase. Once you bring a lot more clarity into what people are supposed to achieve and what people are supposed to do, then you move to the next stage of team formation, which we call the norming stage, where people begin to normalize. People now begin to understand the role they play and how it contributes to the team. And then from there, you move to the performing stage, where people are now, without any word from the leader, without any instruction from the leader, are very clear what they are supposed to do and go on to deliver. And the team then will be at an optimal level of achievement. So those are the stages that normally you have a team go through from inception to performing stage.
Okay, so there are a couple of things I identified that hamper team building. Of course, I work in a team, and one of them has to do with a lack of communication. Tell me about how important communication is, and how do we improve communication in a team?
So communication is everything. Actually, the concept of team is built on trust. To have a team, you must have a trust. The people within the team must trust each other, that each person will do what he or she is supposed to, and to be able to more or less leverage on that person achieving to do theirs. And one key thing that drives trust is communication. So it is very important that you leverage on the communication. And by communication, we are looking at the verbal communication, the written communication, the on-said communication, which is the body language. And in a team, it's very important that you have a charter around your communication. So knowing how you communicate, is it by email, is it by talking to people? Typically for things that are very formal, things that needs to be documented, it will be better you use email. But as much as possible in a team, what you want to encourage is people having conversations about things. Because one, is shortening the process of getting things done. And two, there's more clarity because you talk and you're able to explain, people are able to ask questions, and you're able to get clarity to what you want to do. So on the verbal side, that is what you want to encourage. But that's not to mean if there are things that needs to be documented, you shouldn't put it in an email. There are teams that, because of lack of trust, everybody puts everything in an email. Because I am afraid the person will say, oh, Nixon never told me, or Nixon never asked that. So everybody puts everything in an email simply because they want to have a document to show. And when this happens, it means communication and trust is breaking. The trust is breaking within the team, and then the communication aspect is going down. So it is very important that you always ensure that there's that verbal communication. And then when people are writing emails too, because people don't see you and your actions and how the tone with which you are writing, it is very important that you look at whatever you write well, so that it doesn't come across in a negative way, and whatever you intend to achieve with it would be achieved at the end. So it is very important for the verbal communication, the written communication, and even your body language to ensure that they are professional and they communicate exactly what you want to communicate, so as you get the best result out of it.
Okay. I had a boss who once told me, whenever there was conflict in the team, that you don't necessarily have to be friends with everybody. You just have to try to get along. I'm shifting to the issue to do with relationship building in a team. How do you get along with people and not be friends necessarily?
Yeah. So in the workplace, your boss was right. You need not to be friends. What you need is a good relationship that enables work to be done. That has got a lot of trust in there. You can be friends. If you are friends and you work well, fantastic. It has been shown that teams that have got a lot of friendships tend to perform better. So if you have it, it's good. But you need not to be the friend of every single person in the team. You need to have a good relationship that enables work to be done, that enables the other person to do his part so that you can build on it to do yours. That enables you to do your part so that the other person can build on it. Great. But as I've said, you need not to be friends. Okay. You just have to have a good relationship to enable work done.
And we should also say that things are really changing because of the COVID-19 pandemic. People are having to work from home, so we have virtual work. What kind of complications does this bring to, the team building effort? And does it always have to do with being together? Seeing that people have to work remotely now, how do we forge a strong team whilst working remotely and not being together? Does it really matter?
So it has got an impact. I think you've touched on the impact of the COVID. Because of COVID, now most businesses are doing what we call the hybrid work. The hybrid work is where you have some people working from the office and some people working from a remote location. I normally refrain from using home because there are some people who are working from other locations aside home and not their office. And that creates its own complications. Because there are three models. I have done a study across Ghana, and there are three models that are being practiced. There's a model where you have got a set of employees, because of what they do, are required to be in the office. And there's a set of employees who, by the work they do, are allowed to work from home. So there's a group in the office, there's a group at home. There's a second model where everybody is made to come to work some part of the week or in a week and take the following week off or work from another location. And it cuts across the whole business. Everybody does it. And there's a hybrid between the two where you have got some part of the workforce being on site, working in the office, and some coming in some part of the week and working from remote locations some part of the week. And where you have a hybrid workforce, what normally happens, especially when you have the option one, the first one that I mentioned, you tend to have two cultures developing because you have people who are working on site, they see each other every day, they communicate with each other, looking in the eyes. And then you have a second set of people who are working from remote location and they don't see each other every day and you are struggling to bring them together. When people are working together, bringing them together is a little easy. However, when they are apart, if you are not careful, what happens is that they drift away from what the organization is supposed to achieve and what as a group they are supposed to achieve. And that is when you, as the leader or as an organization, you have to put in a lot more effort to ensure that you don't let two cultures emerge within your organization. And aside that, you put in extra effort to engage people who are working from remote locations, having regular communication with them, having regular catch up with them, checking up on them, and making sure the accountabilities are clear. What a number of companies are doing to ensure that performance do not suffer is to change the way they manage their performance of their teams. So typically they will do an annual review. They will say, oh, you have your goals for the whole year. But now it's changing. Those who are doing hybrid work, but some of them are saying, you know what, because you are working from home, I am going to give you objectives for a quarter or for a month, and then we will work on that and we will assess it at the end of the month. We move on to something else, and it is helping. But all that it requires is that you have to make a deliberate effort to re-engage or to engage people who are not working on site but are working remotely to ensure that the performance of the team doesn't suffer.
Okay, let's talk about some of the things that hamper teamwork. For instance, stress, behaviors, conflict. How do HR managers manage the situation to ensure that there is cohesion in the team?
So stress is one thing that is really a big issue, especially as people move from the office. At the height of the pandemic, it was so maxed. and people were burnt out, and they couldn't manage being in the home with the children, with the husband, with any people that they cared for, and still being asked by their bosses to deliver. But thankfully, when we moved into the hybrid era where people are able to work from home and then from the office, it has gone down a bit. But there are a number of things that we do in HR to ensure that people don't get stressed out. One, we look at the nature of the work. So we look at the work and work delivery to see if people are not being given more than what they are supposed to deliver. So where people work is such that they are unable to deliver, then we look to restructure the work. We also put in place measures like stress management training, where people are taking through the causes of stress, look at stresses within their own self, and how they can manage stress as they come, or especially the stresses, how they can manage them. And then some businesses go a long way to even offer physical exercises to their team, yoga exercises to their team, just to stimulate the mind and help them relax and then manage their well-being. So on stress side, that's what you see people do. On the comfort side, there's a number of things. You know, every company has got its own policy. Yeah. And every single company has got a policy regarding bullying, regarding harassment, regarding conflict, and how employees should relate. And it is very important that the company enforces their own policy on employee relations, so that as and when issues come up, we are human. Even siblings, I say twins even fight. They do have conflict. So conflict within the team will never go away. But as an organization, as a team leader, you must always have a system in place to deal with any conflict that arises within the team immediately it comes, and decisively, without favoring any team or any party. Making sure you are decisive and it is really at the point that it happens, but you don't defer it.
Okay, Nixon is frozen there. Hopefully we may get him before we round up, but we're just about wrapping up on team building and how it is important for, every work organization, especially during these times of the pandemic where businesses are taking a hit. How do you build stronger teams to enable them deliver? How do you enhance productivity with strong teams? How do you minimize conflict and ensure there is trust within the team? Nixon Amwa-Iwa, who is MD of Carbon Clay People Development, has been speaking to us about that, and hopefully you may have picked a point or two from that. We're trying to get him back so he can just give us his last words. If we're able to do, we will get that to you. But I hope that you have learned a thing or two about building strong teams, especially if you are a manager of a company. How do you get your workforce together to accomplish organizational goal? And that is the most important thing, right? Meeting the goals and your targets at the end of the day. And so I think we are struggling a bit to get Nixon back on, but this has been Talking Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Next week, hopefully, we'll be back with some exciting topic for you to discuss. The show continues right after this break.